Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Oh! Thunder sounds.
Lightning! Skeleton noises! Ghosts opening their mail!
Oh,
hello, everyone.
Shit.
Zombies getting a parking ticket!
Oh, no.
I know,
Mummies fucking!
Mummies fucking!
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Mummies fucking Ryman.
And welcome to the We Just Watched Shocktober Spooktacular.
Ah, man, it's a special Spoop 'em Up episode for you. A Spoop 'em Up special presentation.
That's us.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I wish it was Shocktober all year round.
Me too. Yeah, so if people are wondering if they're like, what? You know, if they're like, what? Like listening. We're not gonna talk about one horror movie today. We're gonna talk about four horror movies.
Horror movies.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of some stuff that's been out this month that we couldn't decide on just one.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna do them all. They're also like
they were all things. Listen, guys. Dave and I sat down. We're like, look, we were gonna watch all of these anyway, so we might as well monetize it.
Yeah. And that's actually what we did. And happy Halloween, everybody. This is coming out on the 31st.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the 31st is a Monday, so
that's fucked
happy
up.
Halloween. So it made the most sense to do like a little Halloween.
Yeah, little Halloweenies.
Yeah, and I want to start, Tom, with a general observation, and I don't know if you agree with me on this.
Okay.
There's a lot of horror movies this year.
Yes.
That I liked.
I agree.
Yeah. That said, I can't think of many that actually scared me.
That's a good point.
I liked a lot of them. I can't think of ones that were genuinely scary, which is all to say, I don't think this is actually a particularly great year for horror. I think there's a lot of gems in here, but I don't think, on the whole, I think Men kind of freaked me out.
Men was freaky.
Nope freaked me out. I thought were very good.
Yeah, the Act 2 reveal in Nope, I was going to say, has stuck with me since I saw it. So, like, that's definitely going on my, like, that would go on my list of scariest movie moments of the year, for sure. Right.
Again, also, maybe I just haven't seen enough. Like, I haven't seen Piggy. I haven't seen a few that, like, dropped off.
There's a couple I haven't seen yet. Yeah. There's a new Dario Argento, and I'm sure that'll fuck me up.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. There's a couple of indie things I haven't seen, but I'll say that
Hatching, rather.
Yes, that's actually on Hulu right now, everyone. Yeah. So we covered that on Movies That Deserve More Hype. So if you wanted to catch that and you have Hulu, you can watch it without paying anything extra.
That's true.
I was gonna call out Barbarian, because Barbarian wasn't scary, but like
it's good.
It's good, and it was creepy.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ones that had creepy moments, including what we're going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
But like generally speaking, this wasn't a very scary year for me.
Yeah, not really. There wasn't any big. There wasn't any, like, even though I didn't overall care for like Hereditary, for instance, there's still like moments in Hereditary that I will never forget.
Right.
And there's been like, I feel like there's been like at least one solid, like, because last year we had The Medium, right?
Oh God, yeah, the medium freaked me out.
Man, The Medium fucks, you guys, if you haven't watched that yet. You're right. There's not one. There hasn't been one this year where I'm like, that's the one. That's the spook 'em up.
It's weird. Again, there's a lot of really good movies. But yeah, in terms of horror, and I thought of that because I think it's going to be kind of a theme of today. So the movies we are going to be covering, in no particular order, are Deadstream, Mr. Harrigan's
phone, yeah.
Mr. Garrison's phone. That's a different movie. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. That's Bodies times 3. And Werewolf by Night.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Tom, do you want to start with Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
Sure. I would love to start with Bodies, Badies.
Yeah. Now, if you recall...
Bodies to the third.
Yep, Bodies times 3.
Yeah, Bodies cubed.
If you recall, we talked about this on Hypecast.
Yeah.
And it was either you, myself, or a guest who completely called what the movie was. If you recall.
Yes, I can't remember how we got started. But that's where we landed on, yeah. Where it's like, wouldn't it be funny?
It might have been, yeah.
if nobody, yeah, I do remember partway through watching this movie when they reveal that is what it is. I was like, oh, we called that. Yeah,
we did. We certainly did. This is so yeah, we're gonna put on time code. So if you haven't watched the movie, you can just skip ahead, because we're gonna spoil them. This is a slasher film about Borat's daughter, right? Mm-hmm. And she's in a relationship with another young lady, and they're going to a hurricane party with a bunch of rich kids.
Yeah, they're all grotesquely wealthy.
Yeah. And they're all really toxic. You can tell this is a friend group that clearly is just years of fucking resentment and back talking and shit like that.
Yeah.
And this one girl is just sort of thrust into it. And the person who seems in the center of it is Pete Davidson.
It's his house.
David.
It's his house.
It's his house.
David Peterson. What if that was his name?
Oh, that would be amazing. So basically they establish there's the weird older guy. There's all these.
Lee Pace is so fucking funny.
Yeah,
as the guy who's
he really is.
It's a bunch of 22-year-olds, and obviously Pete Davidson's older than that, but. These are a bunch of
grotesquely so.
Right. He's there's a bunch of college age kids and then a 40-year-old man, and everyone has been to at least one of those parties.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where it's this guy is way too old.
Yeah, this guy's at rock bottom. Yeah. I thought about that where I remember in the punk scene there's a lot of it, right?
There's
always that old ass punk.
I've had several sleepovers like this, these hurricane parties, these house parties where there's a dude that is way older than anybody else there.
Well, they could buy alcohol. Yeah, we always had these Friday night parties at my house that would include all these young punks and then Brian, who was 30 and we were all in high school. And God bless Brian. I loved Brian.
You really benefit off of the worst period of Brian's life.
Yeah. To his credit, Brian never did anything weird. He was actually a very good piano player. He talked to my parents he was very open about it. But it doesn't matter. And then there was Punk Rock Joe. Shout out to Punk Rock Joe, who is a little bit older. But I love him.
Yeah.
But the point is that this is a big. But then I remember when me and my friend, when we were in late 20s, we saw a bunch of young punks in front of the church and we were like, oh, let's be like the older punks and go hang out with them. We didn't last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They were exhausting. And it was wow, how did they do it?
It's because you guys were cooler. It's because you guys were cooler. These kids these days.
Yeah. No, yeah. They were just so full of energy and drama. Anyway, speaking of which, this group is similar. They play a game called Bodies, 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 which is you turn off the lights. It's basically like a werewolf. There's one killer.
It's kind of like werewolf / manhunt because it's also kind of hide and seek.
Yeah.
They do a hide and seek where somebody will get tagged and killed, and then they'll do the meeting like you do in Werewolf. Anyway.
Yeah. And basically they run into Pete Davidson, and he has his neck slashed. And it's who killed Pete Davidson, which, in retrospect, is like, obviously he's the first victim. It's just, you get that vibe from like even the trailers where it's like, he's probably not in it much. He's kind of the Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, it felt like stunt casting because, like, you know, Lee Pace is doing a specific thing, but like outside of that, like Pete Davidson's the most famous person in the movie.
Right.
So, well, and I can't remember her name, but Maria Bakalova, I think she did get an Oscar nom, right?
Yeah, she did. But yeah, you could still argue Pete Davidson.
Yeah, he's still like the one that all the kids know for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, what proceeds is this paranoia. They all start. All their dirty laundry comes out.
All their
because they're trying to guess who's the killer.
And petty grievances come out. Yeah,
it's one of those premises that I'm surprised no one has done it, because when you do a murder mystery, what naturally happens is people point fingers and goes, well, they didn't like them, or, oh, well, they were having an affair with them. And so what's happening is because they're trying to find motive, all the dirty laundry is coming out. And then they start by a combination of like accidents and tension. The first person who gets killed, the old guy, because he's just, because they find like some stuff on him. Like he's kind of weird, you know?
Yeah.
And Borat's daughter kills him out of what she believes is self-defense. And like, it becomes very clear, like, oh yeah, I bet there's no killer. And they're all just, and they all just start killing each other, and all their insecurities and stuff are revealed. And then I gotta commend the movie at, even though I knew what had, like, that it was either a prank or like an accident, what it actually was very funny, because they set it up where they're doing like TikTok videos. That was
so good, that reveal.
Yeah. They set that up, and then they set up that the older guy can open a champagne bottle with a machete, and Pete Davidson, who plays like kind of a petty guy, is just like, that's not that impressive. And then you sort of move on, and what you don't realize is he was hyper focused on it.
Yeah.
And really jealous. And so the reveal is that they find his phone, and he was trying to film a video for TikTok where he does this, and
he slashes his own neck.
Yeah. Very
funny. We haven't said how we felt about this movie. I mostly liked this movie. I thought...
Me too.
My only problem with it was... I see what it was trying to do, where like the rest of the movie was supposed to sort of play out, oh, here's the game, but in real life. That never really gelled.
No, it didn't.
And then the end scene, the end confrontation is sort of overloaded. Like that's where all of the...
Okay, thank you.
That's where all of the trailer clips came from, is from this very last scene where everybody is just shouting what their character is at each other. So that I felt like that was a little like, oh, they're just trying to cram everything that should have come out earlier in the movie into this one scene. And consequently, because all the trailers pulled most of the footage from that scene, it made... The trailer made the movie seem like something it wasn't. Like it was going to be this sort of really meta, self-referential, oh, you're toxic, you're silencing me, all the way throughout. And it's not that. It's actually way more nuanced and subtle until this scene.
Yeah. No, that was the thing, is I expected not to like this based on the trailer dialogue. And that stuff wasn't them being like kids these days. It was actually a very funny, it was still blasting kids. Like the fucking Libra Moon stuff is so funny. Where she just keeps, where they're like, because they're asking about the older guy.
What do you know about
this guy?
He's a Libra Moon.
What's his middle name? Yeah, what's his fucking middle name? She's like, I don't know, he's a Libra Moon. He wouldn't do it.
Yeah. How long have you known him? Like a long time. And it's 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's a lot. It is making fun of young people and like also kind of rich people.
But it's more
privileged people.
Yeah, it's more that. And it's more that, and the movie is... go ahead.
Oh, no, it's not what you think it is, in the sense that, like, oh, kids today are so triggered. It's more of like, look at these rich kids who have all this privilege, really trying to be oppressed. Like, wanting
they
that.
Want to be part of those things. Yeah. That's more what it's about. I mean, that's not even more what that's exactly what it's about. So, like, the movie's criticism is way more like the satire of the movie is way more focused than the trailer might have made it seem. It's not just an old man yelling at a cloud. It's actually very well done. And except for that that last scene that I was pointing out, very well executed. Like I said, it's pretty subtle throughout the movie.
There's a moment. So at the end, it ends up being Borat. I'm sorry, Borat.
Tutar is her name in
Tutar and her girlfriend
in Borat. Anyway,
and there's sort of this moment of like we're the only two left. So obviously,
her name in this movie is B.
B. And so there's this moment of like they never really say it, but it's like it's one of us, right? Mm-hmm. And then they start wrestling, and they fall in the pool. And there's this very abrupt switch where they get out of the pool and one of them goes, "Oh, look, it's your phone. Oh no, it's Pete's phone or David's phone."
She's
and they
like, "Oh, that's not my phone."
Yeah, they sort of just stop fighting so the plot can continue. And I heavily agree with you where it's like the last like even 5 minutes, maybe 10, for me, like it kind of like I know they needed to get from A to B, and I don't think they did a great job.
No.
But overall, the performances are great. The tension,
it's
everybody across the board is great.
It's way more tense than I expected.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's like a nail biter, but like it actually has more suspense than I was expecting. Especially based on that trailer that it had.
Yeah, it's not a scary movie, and I don't think it's trying to be.
Not really.
It's more of a comedy. I laughed way more.
Oh yeah, it is pretty funny.
It is.
Man, I love the fucking Connor O'Malley cameo at the very end.
Oh yeah. Fucking weird. Yeah, what's the character's name? It's
Max.
They keep talking about Max.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the only other possibility is that Max is the killer.
Yeah, it could be this one guy who wasn't there the whole time, and then he shows up at the end, and it's clear that he like was in an accident or something.
Yeah, and it's right after they realize that no one killed David. And then they're just like staring. And then one of them goes, "Oh, I have reception now." Yeah. And then the thing ends. Yeah. Yeah, I would say this movie it didn't surprise me. And maybe it's just because we accidentally figured it out. Because I was watching it like, this movie didn't feel clever, if that makes sense. And it's for the reason of like, one, we sort of called it, which was, I don't know how many other people, I have a feeling like watching it, other people will have called it too. Because it starts feeling obvious. And it doesn't do. It would have been nice to do more of a murder mystery in the middle where it felt like a mystery. But these are all for me small criticisms.
Yeah, the movie was to me a pleasant surprise, even though like I wasn't.
Yeah,
like the twist didn't surprise me, but like. It's still well executed, and it felt like an Agatha Christie story because she's had stories where it sort of like gets to that point where you're like, man, it can't possibly be any of these people. So what happened? So like you still are on the hook, even if you do sort of get a little bit ahead of the movie. And like I said, the satire of it is much more well done and much more focused than the trailer might have made you think. So if like the trailer kind of turns you off, I would suggest giving the movie a shot. You might like it. It's pretty funny.
Honestly, the humor and the dialogue is what made it for me. And that was, I thought, was going to be the weakest part. So yeah, I would file this under pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Very fun. Very good film.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on it?
No, let's move on.
All right, to Mr. Harrigan's Phone. This is based on a Stephen King. This got poor reviews, Tom.
I saw that.
It's a period piece from 2003, which really fucked me up. Because they realized that's the equivalent of a movie taking place in the 70s, in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it was like, fuck, man.
That is 20 years ago, Dave.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Nope.
And it's about a young whippersnapper who really needs to he really needs like a grandparent or like a friend because he befriends old ass Donald Sutherland and is just like, I love you, Donald Sutherland. You're the best. I kept thinking like, do you have grandparents? Like they must feel really put out if you do. Anyway, he basically gets a job reading and helping out this old rich bastard.
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland.
He's a real bastard, a real Donald Sutherland type.
Yeah. You get the impression that he's like a supervillain, like he's a bad guy in some regard, but he's good to this kid. Mm-hmm. And again, he's not doing it for the money. They genuinely form a relationship. And then the movie briefly becomes an iPhone commercial several times, which I want to talk about.
The iPhone's important.
It is, but was this funded by Apple? Because there's parts where he's like, with iPhone, you can easily access this and that and that.
Oh,
and
I
like
think...
they really make a meal out of the iPhone.
Yeah.
And like it is important, but I don't know if and then when he goes to upgrade his phone, they're like, you can keep your number when you upgrade your phone. I'm like, what is going on? Why is this a cell phone commercial suddenly? All that said, I liked this movie, by the way, Tom. I like this movie.
So did I. This movie is not a horror movie. So I think that maybe had a lot to do with some of the bad audience reviews. I
kind of disagree. I think this is a creepy fucking movie.
I think this is like a gothic drama.
I think this is the closest to this spoilers. This is, I think, the movie I found the scariest amongst the movies we watched. That isn't to say like the best movie, but this is the one that creeped me out the most.
It is creepy, yeah. There are creepy moments.
Because basically Donald Sutherland dies.
Yeah.
He puts his iPhone in with his the corpse, and then he starts getting like weird ass texts. He calls and like he can hear it ringing under the grave, which is really creepy. And basically he has a bully, yeah, who's bullying him around.
He's a real classic Stephen King maniac bully.
The performance is great. I really liked this guy because he was like playing it as like he's like kind of fucked up, like he's not.
Right, yeah, they talk about it later where like the teacher's like he had problems at home, he had mental problems, he was just he was having a very tough time, and all of that comes across in his performance. The actor was actually quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, you almost didn't need that explained to you because the actor's killing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he calls Mr. Harrigan on his phone to Mr. Harrigan's phone, hence the title. And he's like, there's this bully. It's really fucking me up. It's escalating. And then the bully dies. And the bully has fallen out his window, is in the same dead-ass position that he bullied the kid in.
Yeah,
like he laid him out.
Yeah. Also, he's got shoe polish all over his face.
Yeah, and he told him he's going to make him eat it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Donald Sutherland goes hard as a ghost.
Yeah. I like a lot of... I had read the story and was a fan of the story.
Okay.
And this is pretty much verbatim, because like it's about a lot of things. It's about like loneliness and like what that can do to you, but it's also mostly about power. And because like the main kid is like is poor and he gets bullied a lot, and Mr. Harrigan is this super rich captain of industry who everybody's afraid of, but he's also very lonely as a result of it. So like the kid is seeing what he could become, and then like the iPhone thing, in addition to just being the MacGuffin, it's just the way that he's able to communicate with Mr. Harrigan after he's dead. It's also like they have that scene where like Mr. Harrigan predicts everything that sucks about the iPhone and about the technology age. That's ties into the theme about power, where it's like you have this great power, but like if you use it, this is what's going to happen. And so like that's what the movie's about.
It's about phones. At the end, it sort of concludes that way.
It's about phones,
which is weird. It is, but it also again, it feels like for example, there's a part where and this doesn't make any sense to me, where he replaces his phone with a new phone.
Yeah.
And somehow that works. Like Mr. Harrigan can't call him that way, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's the magic. I don't know.
It's the magic, yeah.
It's the magic.
But it creates a scene where he basically goes into a Verizon store and they like sell him a phone. Like there's a couple parts where the movie like I don't think high school had like a special iPhone table. Like it's like a little weird.
You weren't in high school when the iPhone came out.
That's a good point. The
iPhone was the coolest fucking thing in the world when it came out.
That's true. There's just a couple parts where the movie like spends a little too much time. Like it's trying to sell me on the iPhone, and I'm like, this is weird. And I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's about how everyone's enamored with this new power, and like it's parallel to like he
instantly looks at it. Even he gets enamored. He gets hooked on the phone.
Exactly. And then he starts to realize that it's bad. Along with the metaphor of like literally using it to. Well, that's not, I used metaphor and literally forget I said that. But like along with like the louder comment on that, where he's like using his phone to contact a dead man who is killing people for him.
Right.
It's the same idea, how he's enamored of this power that he shouldn't be fucking with.
I guess what it is it feels a little Old Man Yells at Cloud.
A little bit.
Or specifically Stephen King Yells at Cloud.
If it if it was, I would agree with that harder if it wasn't more specifically about the power that Mr. Harrigan wields.
It doesn't go hard into it.
Also, and if it wasn't exactly correct, like he's not like it's like it is a little old man yelling at a cloud, but like
for the record, he's correct because the writer is writing it, knowing it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Stephen. We know this is Stephen King's opinion about the iPhone and technology. That's what I meant. It's like it is a little old man yelling at a cloud, but also everything Stephen King feels about what's bad about this iPhone and the technology age is correct. So it's
but
it's not sort too old man yelling at a cloud, but a little bit.
Yeah. It's a little Captain Hindsight because they do the scene where Donald Sutherland's like, this is going to create an era of fake news. And it's like, this isn't impressive because I know it was written by someone who already knows this stuff. You know what I mean? Where it's like, and then he predicted it. And it's like, I mean... because you did you just wrote him to do that.
Yeah, I'm not that serves the story. I'm not talking about a character predicting the future. I'm talking specifically, we know that is Stephen King's current opinion about phones and technology, and I'm saying that opinion is correct. So it's like
he's not wrong.
Right. But
again, I really liked this movie.
I really liked it way more than I thought I would.
I don't quite understand the criticism because this actually makes me feel like an old man yelling at cloud, where I'm like, there are critics older than me, but it was like, come on guys, have you forgotten what a horror movie can be? Like, did you forget that a horror movie can be like subtle and eerie and doesn't have to have jump scares and only 2 people die in this. And it's mostly about the tension around
3 people technically, because Donald Sutherland kicks that.
Oh yeah.
Kicks
actually
that
4 people.
Big old bucket.
4 people then, because the teacher.
That's right, the teacher dies.
5 if you count the mom.
She dies off screen, it doesn't count.
Yeah. But his dad is King Widower. He's such a
dad
widower.
Is trying his best.
He really is. Again, but like that's another. Like, why is this kid so into this old guy?
Well, that's another really good thing that I enjoyed. A thing that I appreciate about the movie, its subtlety is that relationship, because it doesn't belabor it, but like you can tell the dad has got nothing in his life except for this kid, and the kid's being lured away from him by this guy that has all this, he has a positive relationship with Mr. Harrigan.
There's dynamics. You can tell the dad isn't, the dad keeps having these looks of like, this is weird. You know, like,
it's more that he's
in his will, the dad has this moment where you can tell in the dad's head, he's like, thank you, you old bastard. You know, like you can tell the dad doesn't like Mr. Harrigan, basically.
Well, I didn't get that vibe so much as he's sad. Like he's sad about it.
He's definitely sad. And I think he resents him or something.
Maybe.
Like, I think it's the, like there, you get the vibes where like the Christmas and stuff where it's like, where Mr. Harrigan accidentally shows him up, you know? With the scratch ticket, stuff like that, where you can tell like this dad is lonely, he's trying his best, and he feels a little resentment about this old man taking up his kid's time. Like, I think that's what it is. And again, that's all in the performances. Again, very good fucking performances. They never spell anything out.
Nope.
So like, that's my interpretation of the dad. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
No, and it's not like two-dimensional. It's just like, it's complex.
Yeah.
So to continue the story, what happens is basically his favorite teacher gets killed by a drunk driver. Just a colossal, the most cartoonish piece of shit. Like,
right.
Privileged guy who gets off in court.
It's such a Ziggy character that the person they cast looks like Ziggy. Yeah. But it's like actually casting James Ranson wouldn't have worked because he's a little too old. But like it's clear they sat down like, okay, we need a Ziggy type.
Yeah, exactly. And so the boy basically calls in a ghost hit. It was very funny to me conceptually because he just goes into his closet, finds the phone because he never threw it away. Yeah. He almost did, and then he didn't.
Yeah.
And then he calls Mr. Harrigan, and he's just like, "I want him dead." Like, well, that's it. Yeah, he's just cool. Like, kill this guy.
It's I really liked the progression of it because like initially he's just texting Mr. Harrigan and calling him because sometimes you do that when somebody passes. Sometimes you do that. You just call him like, hey, I know you're never going to hear this. I just wanted to say X, Y, and Z. Like I've done.
And when he vents about the bully, it's not He's not like, I want you to do a ghost hit, because he doesn't even know ghost hits exist.
Exactly. And then, like, when it happens and the bully dies, he feels really terrible about it, because he sees the kid's family crying, and his teacher talks to him about, like, look, he had a lot of shit going on, so whatever happened to him is not your fault, and that just makes him feel worse. So, like, he actually calls Mr. Harrigan back, and it's like, I didn't want you to kill him. Like, that was fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, I liked the progression of it, because this time you're right. Like, he just picks up the phone. He's like, Mr. Harrigan, smoke this motherfucker.
Yeah.
Kill his ass. So it's like it's the power corrupting him.
Yeah, exactly. And then if the guy dies, and he dies
sure
in a very Mr. Harrigan way.
He dies in a conceptually horrifying manner.
He really does. And that's when he's like, okay, better get rid of this phone. And he hucks it into a lake. And, like, that's it. And when you tell it like that, it does sound like, oh, where's the movie? But the movie is all about the characters and about him, and it's sort of coming of age. And
exactly,
there's a lot more to it.
I think they even classify it in the Netflix description as a coming of age film.
Yeah, but I would argue this is straight up also horror. I know why people saw it and they were like, this isn't horror, but I think people are too used to, like, that traditional horror where it's like, you know, little boogans go blah. Even elevated horror is still very much horror, and this is like horror drama, and I very much like that, and I wish we had more of that. This is a horror story that is also wrapped in like a character-based drama, and it has ideas in it that are conceptually terrifying and creepy, and they're mixed in with it.
I like that you never see any of the murders. You never see Ghost Mr. Harrigan. You never see it. It's just messages on a phone. Like, he'll get texts.
And the texts are like mashing, look like button mashing. So, like, you could tell yourself, like, oh, there's an error on the phone. Maybe his bloated ass hand is, like, hitting his corpse, flapping against it. Or, like, people keep saying, like, oh, his phone was probably hacked, you know? So, like, there's no, like, yes, I am like, there's a couple parts where the phone calls him back, but he doesn't get to it. He's, like, too freaked out.
He doesn't answer it,
So there's, like, a plausible deniability that, but then, of course, the murders, it's like, oh, no, those are...
Yeah.
He clearly fucking killed these people. But yeah, I like a worse, like, if someone tried to make this a horror movie, they would show those, right?
Yeah.
It would happen like 6 times. They would think up a bunch of dumb reasons for him to keep accidentally calling in hits. And they would have these, like, dimly lit, you know, greenish sequences where Mr. Harrigan
somebody's getting stalked by an unseen Donald Sutherland.
Or it'd be like Final Destination style, but in this you only see the aftermath. You never see what the actual events, and that makes it fucking creepier. It's what Seven did.
I mean, a lot of movies have done that, but that's just the biggest example that sticks out in my mind, because everybody talks about how horrific Seven is, but you never actually see any of the violence. You see the aftermath.
Exactly. It's just like, I don't know, man. I'm bummed that people didn't like this.
Yeah.
Because I think less is more. And as we're going to talk about, there's something that got a lot of reviews, good reviews, that I feel like is gratuitous in the opposite way, where it's just like this. It's just like, I don't know. I like the subtlety of this. I think this is very classic horror.
Yeah.
Like, this is actually old school horror in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked this. I didn't know if anybody would. So I'm sitting there watching this movie. I was like, well, I enjoy this. I was coming from it as, like, a fan of the short story. So,
I really liked it.
Yeah, this is well done.
Yeah.
Worth your time if you're not expecting if you're not expecting a Boogans movie. Then if you like the kind of horror movies that we were describing, you should definitely check this one out. It's worth watching.
It's kind of creepy.
And it's not super long either. It's about 90 minutes, in and out.
In and out. Just like Donald Sutherland doing a hit. I think it's actually more like an hour 40.
Oh, okay. It didn't feel very long.
No, I had a delightful time. Any other thoughts on it?
Nah, it's pretty sweet.
All right. Well, I guess we should talk about Werewolf by Night. That's what I was referring to a second ago. I have a bone to pick with this, although a lot of my gripes has nothing to do with the quality of it, I realized.
Interesting.
This is Marvel. This is Marvel's short horror.
It's their special, which I'm kind of in the opposite direction. I would have watched this. I got to the end of this and was like, add 30 more minutes to this, and I would have gone to see this in a theater. Like, I loved this.
Oh, good.
Yeah. No, I like Michael Giacchino, who normally is a composer. He did the music for this and also directed it. I think he did a good job of mimicking the lighting of old horror movies. Like, it's not just they put a black and white filter on it. They actually did the lighting techniques, or some of them anyway, that they used to do.
I would argue I don't think he did that. I think his cinematographer did that.
I'm saying that, yeah.
And, well, no, I want to make that distinction because I think some people got the memo and some people didn't. I think the costume and set designer got the memo. I think the cinematographer got the memo. I actually don't think the writer or the director got the memo at all. This is my bone to pick, and it's more to do. I don't know. This feels to me like the bar lowering, because this is fun. This is a fun movie. I was disappointed by it because I wanted a horror short.
It is not.
I wanted Marvel to do that. It's just another superhero thing. It's the same problem I keep having with Marvel, which is when they're like, "Ooh, we're going to do something different," and then it's not. It's not actually different. It's just more superhero stuff.
I would say the moving parts of this are different, but it is at base it is just a superhero story. But I think all the elements are different, and the approach is a little bit different. Which I don't know. And I don't know. I liked it. I recognize that it's essentially just a different coat of paint, but I really like this coat of paint.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I again was disappointed, and I sort of my eyes glazed over at a certain point because I don't think, because it's short, I don't think there was much. I don't know with the character. So my gripe is that it's getting great reviews, and almost every review is like a wonderful tribute to the Boris Karloff era or classic movies. And as I was pointing out, like, Boris Karloff movies don't have Joss Whedon quippy dialogue. It doesn't have CGI monsters. It's not shot in 16:9. It doesn't have action oneers where a werewolf tears people about. Like, this is not anything like those, I would argue. It is just lit like one and dressed like one.
Yes.
That's it. And so it is, to me, the equivalent of a filter being put on it, because nothing about it actually is a tribute. I was trying to look into it to be like, what do people fucking think
that first
classic
act,
about this?
That first act where they gather everybody in the hall, and then
the Crypt Keeper?
They introduce Crypt Keeper. Again, that creepy ass lady giving her theatrical speech about, like, that felt very old school to me. Like, that felt like
a bit. But if you go back and watch it, it still has the quippiness. It's still, the camera stuff is still very modern, like the camera moves and stuff. I know what you're saying. It's there's certain things that are in the style of it. But like, I looked up lists because I was like, what fucking are people saying here? On the list, someone said like sympathetic monsters, and it's like, you're right, that counts, but not in this way, not in the way that the monster's named Ted as a joke. You know what I mean? The werewolf looks like an old style werewolf. Like, it's definitely a tribute.
I like that they didn't. I mean, obviously they do for some of the action shots, but I like that instead of just making like a CGI Hulk, they actually just put the actor in werewolf makeup. Sure,
yeah. See,
do that.
This is another bone I have to pick, and this is with the journalism around it. Is that's one of the things people kept saying on the reviews and stuff. They're like, the practical effects. So, for example, a lot of articles will tell you Ted is a practical effect.
No, he's not.
And I was like, yeah. And I looked it up, and they're like, they built a real costume on set, and then like practically in footnote writing that was used as a reference.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, because it's CGI. One of the things they praise, like I've seen praised multiple times, is practical sets. And I was like, what? Like, is the bar so low that you're like, it didn't use a green screen? That's pretty sad.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I liked the sets that they built.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
And I'm glad that they built them.
Right. That's why my bone to pick with this has less to do with the actual movie and more to do with, like, it really felt like the praise, some of it was like a signal of the bar being horrifically lowered. Where they're like again, where this is a fun action, like, superhero werewolf thing done in the style of a classic old film, but not done in such a way that it's particularly, like, it doesn't actually, in my mind, capture the spirit of those old movies, you know? It's aesthetically done that way, but only to a point.
It would have been, yeah. They would have needed to make it more bleak, and that's not going to happen in a Marvel movie.
They would have had to film it more, like, on sticks. Like, they would have had to shoot it in, like, the fucking 4x3, and, like, made the cinematography actually look like an old film, but it really doesn't. Again, the lighting does, the sets do, and the actual cinematography or the camera, the shot list doesn't.
There are a few shots, and that one's not so much. There are a few shots that felt like, oh, this is like fucking Lon Chaney. Okay.
I think so. Again, I want to make this distinction that a cinematographer is mostly in charge of lighting a set, while the director chooses the actual shots.
The shots and the moves.
That's what I'm trying to make the distinction of, is that I think the cinematographer absolutely knew how to make something look like an old, and maybe, I don't know, I haven't looked it up. Maybe the director is also the cinematographer. All I know is the shots themselves. Like, they do the Hulk shot, and it's like, well, that's a nod to the Avengers. That's not a nod to.
It is a Marvel movie. It's my question.
Felt more beholden to Marvel for that reason. It felt more to be about Marvel Easter eggs.
Sure.
Than
I guess my question is, how many things does it need to check off before it's an acceptable homage to you?
I think an acceptable homage to old classic horror really comes down to the writing. I think you could have shot this in color, and like in modern way, if it felt like a classic horror story, but it's not, you know, like, that's the thing, is the part that isn't classic is so loud. Like, you can't tell me this is a classic horror story and then do an elaborate oneer where the werewolf rips a, like, SWAT team apart. It's like, no, that doesn't happen. You can't tell me this is like Boris Karloff films when the joke is that the monster's name is Ted, and then it, like, ends on joke.
I'm just saying, it sounds like you're more, like, your bone to pick is with the people who have reviewed this rather than the thing itself.
Saying. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that my bone to pick is that it's the praise it's getting is so fucking weird to me. As like this, oh my God, this is so fresh for Marvel. And it's like, no, it's a Marvel thing. It's a Marvel thing that's skinned like old classic horror. But I guess my bone to pick with the actual thing itself is that it was advertised heavily as one thing. They used that werewolf transformation scene, which is great.
That's so cool, yeah.
But it's not, it's more just it's a quippy superhero thing. Like, and that really bums me out because, again, it's not against, like, the people who made this. It's more of my, like, it just extended my, how bummed I am with Marvel, where it's like, can you just do, you advertised like a werewolf horror thing. Could you do that? Could you actually do that? And they couldn't. Like, this is really cynical, but I firmly believe it's black and white because of censorship more than the style, because it doesn't show blood, and because that makes it easier to sell to families. Like, it's the Disney-fication factor, where it's like they didn't go for it. I wanted them to go for it. I wanted them to actually make something that was a horror movie. People kept saying it's, like, really gory, and it's like, no, it actually isn't. Like, it's blood flies at the screen.
Yeah, not super gory. There's a couple of spots where they definitely probably wouldn't have put that in a PG-13 Avengers movie, but
right, yeah,
but like those movies are pretty violent too. But it's just not gory.
And that's why it's like, it's weird. It's a weird bone to pick because I think the actual short is fine. It's I didn't love it, but it's not like there's nothing wrong with it, you know? Like,
this is my favorite Marvel thing I've seen in a while.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this.
I think that the way they hyped it up and the idea that this is supposed to be like spooky and the all the hype around it, and it just feels like we're like sort of patting them on the head for doing something slightly different and being like, this is incredible. And I just don't. I think it's more of the same to me. At its core, you're right.
Yeah, I cannot argue with that.
I really wish they'd.
It's just another superhero story. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they had legitimately went for a horror, because it's just, this isn't horror. It isn't.
This is even more cynically than you suggesting that it's in black and white for the violence, which is a thought I had as well. even though I did really like the black and white. Is I feel like this may even be a proof of concept, right? Because we know we know they're lining up some of the horror characters like Black Knight and Blade. This introduces a bunch of other ones, Werewolf by Night and Elsa Bloodstone and Man Thing. And their Moon Knight kind of also dabbles in this a little bit. So it seems like they're kind of gently testing the waters more and more to see if they can do like horror Avengers, which I'll be all over. Like, if just do a Tomb of Dracula movie. I'll watch the fucking shit out of that.
The irony, the really funny part of that is fucking Dark Universe over there is watching this like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's what's very funny about it. And it's like, because that's the thing is it's also like the classic horror stuff. I really kind of want them to cut that shit out. Because I feel like they're standing, it's the Jurassic Park, you're standing on the shoulders of giants or whatever. Like, it's just like, I don't know, man. You're not actually honoring it or you're not actually recreating it. You're doing it for an aesthetic to make people like kind of like make your own horror aesthetic. If you're going to do what you're describing, like Blade and stuff like that, and I'm sure they will, but it's just like make your own horror aesthetic then. Don't like borrow pieces of from a Universal, from like another company. And another genre that you're not really have much to do with. It like I guess this is the comparison that I have. Death Proof, very good movie. I love Death Proof.
Mm-hmm.
But Tarantino, the assignment was to make a grindhouse film, and you can tell that Tarantino didn't actually want to do that, and you can tell it because it does like the grindhouse like camera filter for like the first half, and then it just slowly forgets that it's that. You know what I mean?
He made a different kind of drive-in movie. He made Vanishing Point.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not.
Yeah, I
it's
really
not
like Death Proof. Yeah.
Yeah, but it never to me felt like a grindhouse. You know what I mean? Like
no,
it never.
But Planet Terror didn't really either. Like Planet.
Yes. Yeah, I think both of them failed at the assignment. Yeah. I really do, and I like both of the films because it's both directors. It's kind of both directors just can't help themselves. That's the kind of the issue with Tarantino, right? And Robert Rodriguez in both a good and a bad way, which is like they can't really recreate a style because they can't fucking help themselves. Yeah. They have to be them.
That's art, baby.
Yep, and that's the feeling I got from this, but in just a way that bummed me out a little more, which is that Marvel can't help just being Marvel. And so like the assignment was let's make a horror special, and then they just like couldn't help themselves and had to make it a Marvel superhero thing. And that's why it was like I was ultimately like the movies, it's fine, but I was disappointed because I wanted an actual horror thing.
That's fair.
And I didn't get it. Yeah.
That's fair. But I really enjoyed this for what it is.
For sure. And I think if this is a proof of concept for like the Blade universe, that's great.
Yeah,
they shouldn't. We've been saying this for a while. Don't include the Avengers.
No.
Don't include the MCU. Just make it a horror universe.
Yeah.
And set Blade in it and have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I get why you like it. I get why people like it.
Yeah. I understand your criticism too, but I do, and you admitted as much. So yeah, but it's like I do have to point out that you're shitting on the reviews it's getting more than the thing itself.
For sure. But I think the reviews it's getting are indicative of of like how much Marvel has kind of seeped into our expectations.
Yeah.
Like going back to Mr. Harrigan's phone, it's the same of how like the way like mainstream horror has seeped into our expectations that then people watch that and they're like, what's going on? There's no jump scares. What is this? You know what I mean?
Halloween Ends is getting pretty not great reviews across the board, but like compare the reviews of that to the reviews of Mr. Harrigan's phone, where it's like,
exactly.
It's like
where it's like, what the fuck's going on? And I feel like this is indicative of like how Marvel has almost lowered the bar that like people are like, oh my God, non-green screen sets. And I'm like, yeah.
That is fucking mind-blowing. It's like, oh, they actually built sets instead of had people dancing in front of a green screen. It's like, yeah, that's how you usually make things.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was fun enough. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any more? I want to give you the ability to praise this.
No,
because I understand.
I didn't connect with it in any profound emotional way. I just really I really enjoyed it for what it was. I would have watched a whole movie of this.
Yeah. I think I'm on board with you, which I would have preferred a movie version, because I texted you and I was like, I don't know about this, and like I said, I'm halfway through, and then I was like, oh wait, no, I'm done.
Wait, it's over.
Yeah, and I think I actually would have connected to it more if they spent more time with the characters, because my issue is like, or the reason my issue with the film itself and why I didn't enjoy it is because I didn't feel like I didn't think it was particularly like the concept. It's like, we're monster hunters, and it's like, yeah, you're not very good at it. Like you instantly fail at it, and then like there's these quick moments where she's like, oh, in this grave is keys to get out, and like we have to, like, because it's an hour long, they had to like rush it. It felt like a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I actually would have rather like even a 2-hour version that like gave me a reason to like the main character a little more and like establish that relationship with her. Like it just sort of ends. Like he killed, like the monster hunters die, and then it like goes to color and they do like a joke and it ends, and I was like, wait, really? Like I did kind of, I thought like there's more to be said here, you know?
No, yeah, I would have, and like I said, I would have watched a whole movie of this.
Yeah,
I like what was there. I want more of it.
I think if I had more time with it, I could have gotten over the initial stuff and started enjoying the characters and stuff, but there just wasn't enough time.
I do think the performances in this were a lot of fun.
Oh, they're great. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of the main guy.
Yeah, Gal Garcia Bernal.
Yeah.
From Old, Dave. The star of Old.
Oh my God, he is the star of Old.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Good for him. Good for Old.
Yeah,
old
good
guy.
for Old.
Well, do we want to talk about our final movie?
Yeah, let's do it.
Deadstream. I have the least amounts of notes for this because I was, for the most part, just watching the movie.
Right, like my note for Deadstream is just like an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Like, this movie rules.
Yeah, I think this has to be probably my favorite
this is
of this group.
So much fun. Such a fun movie.
A found footage movie about a like a streamer, like a Logan Paul type,
really irritating YouTuber. Yeah, not like
PewDiePie.
I do like that they didn't, like, they made him kind of they made him kind of shitty, but not like unforgivably shitty. You know what I mean?
Yes, and that's part of the point. Is like he's trying, he just can't.
Yeah. He's just a dipshit.
When he dedicates his stream to the blacks and the Mexicans, he's trying. He's trying so hard.
Yeah.
But he just can't get past the fact that he's an idiot.
He's a dipshit.
Like, that's what it is. He's terminally an idiot. Yeah. Terminal dipshit. And so, like, he has a YouTube channel that, he's grading, and you know, and he goes to this haunted house, and it's so funny because it also fits perfectly with like horror characters. Whenever horror characters, because the whole thing about writing a horror movie is you have to think of a way for someone to get trapped, right? Mm-hmm. And half the time, horror characters do something very stupid. Like, for example, Bodies, they do the car thing, which I was like, that's a bit much, but sure. You know, they always has to be, there has to be a reason.
They did it in a way that made sense, though.
They did. It was
Bodies,
fine.
like, she just accidentally left the mirror down, and I have done that before. Yeah,
it's fine, but it's still like, you know, they have to figure out a reason. In this, it's built in. Yeah, because he's like, I'm going to spend a night in a haunted house, so I'm going to take the spark plugs out of my car and throw them in the woods.
Yep.
Like, because
he locks himself inside and drops the key in a vent, and you're just like, you're watching this, and you know he's fucking hanging himself because you know you're watching a horror movie. So you're just like, oh my God, dude.
So funny. And then I would argue the first like 20 minutes of this movie genuinely had me on edge. Because it's the tension.
It's all set up, yeah. So you're like, something is gonna happen. I just don't know when. Right.
Which, if you recall, maybe you had a different experience, but that's the same way I felt watching Evil Dead. Is the genuine tension, and then the tension breaks because things just go out of fucking control.
Yeah, it gets so over the top. It's so much fun.
It turns out that he's hunting. There's a ghost that, like, I don't know about you, but the moment that woman showed up, I was like, that's the ghost.
Oh,
It's
she's the ghost. Yeah. Also, Jamie Loftus retweeted it, but did you notice she's wearing a Bechtel cast pin?
That's amazing.
Yeah, she's wearing a feminist icon pin.
That's so good. That's so good. Because what happens is this woman shows up during his stream and is like, I'm your biggest fan, and like is following him around, and like he's constantly talking to the chat, and the chat's like, keep her around, and he's like a dick to her. You could he's just a shitty guy. Like they did a good job with like showing underpinnings of like, oh, he's a mean-spirited person. Like he doesn't have the best heart.
You can tell that that's surprisingly subtle, because it is twofold. One, you are seeing that he's an asshole, like he's mean, and like his persona is an affectation. Like you almost see him, I don't want to say code switch, but it's like you see him like behaving the way he behaves for his stream, and then you see like flashes of what he's actually like when he's dealing with this woman.
Yeah, and you can tell he's a jerk. Yeah,
but like why I said I appreciate how nuanced it is because it is weird. Like, she stalked him out to this house. She's crashing his live stream.
Sure.
And like the stipulation of his stream is that he's supposed to be there by himself. And it's just some creepy fan that has come to find him out in the middle of nowhere. I'd be a little put off too.
Absolutely. So, but you can tell the way he treats her.
Yeah.
He treats her like a shit. Like, yeah. But you're right. It's nuanced. The thing They reference an apology video at the start and about how there's a scandal. What we learn is that he fought a homeless man for a video and put him in the hospital because he thought he didn't realize the homeless man had like a medical condition, basically.
Right. He was the premise is he does his channel. He does things that he's scared of. And he did a video about like he's never been in a fight before. So like he thought this dude was going to wail on him. Yeah. And instead he put the guy in the hospital.
Right. And there's very much a message throughout of the relationship people have with fans in the internet age.
Yes.
That's a big part of it. Because the whole time he has this scrolling text of people who are just like, you should kill yourself. Or like, no, go investigate the noise. And he has these sponsors he's beholden to. And so, again, very smartly, they crafted a horror movie where normally when a character does something stupid, you have to write this big sweaty reason. In this, it's him literally doing the horror movie tropes on purpose.
Yeah.
Because his sponsors are telling him to, and the fans are saying, do it. Don't be a pussy. Go do it. Like, that's the idea, is that he's like, am I liked yet? Do you like me? Like, that's the relationship, is he is this like dude who's desperately seeking approval from an audience of strangers
and
for money.
And it's, this is more obvious, but like he's putting himself in harm's way to do this. Like he's so beholden to his online persona and his fans and stuff that it's like at great personal risk. Like he's, and like that's like real obvious and loud commentary, but it's not true.
Yep. But what they do that was very funny, is that they make the villain almost like The Ring. Where what you learn is that the lore is that this woman keeps killing people in this house to start a family. And then what he realizes, and then he finds her diary and it's filled with bad poetry.
Her bad poet. I love it when when she's still masquerading as a fan and hasn't dead-eyed it out on him yet, and they're like, they sit down to read the poems. Like, oh, I found some of these poems are really stupid, and she gets very serious for a second. She's like, they're not boring.
The movie it doesn't care if you know she's the ghost.
No,
it does not.
I mean, of course, like the movie knows that as soon as she shows up, you're going to be suspicious of her. There's no reason another human being should be out here. So
exactly. And so what you learn is that she's killing people for an audience. In other words, she's an influencer. Yeah. Before influencers existed, is the idea. Is that she was like, she married a publisher, like she was just trying to become the next big thing in her time, and then died, and is continuing to try to gain an audience. And so she's him. And he realizes that, and he starts learning that he the way he puts it is he has to demonetize her.
Yep.
By using he's gonna
deplatform her.
Yeah, he's gonna deplatform her by the way he was deplatformed by doing the spell to take over her power. It's very silly and very fun.
Oh man.
All the while, you mentioned Deadite. All the while, the ghost stuff that happens, the moment she turns, because he accidentally kills her, and then she comes back from the dead.
She's choking him, or so she's trying to kill him.
She's biting him. Yeah,
she's biting him. That's right. She's biting him.
Yeah, he tells her to leave, and then she just goes, ah! Just goblins
she deadites out on him. Yeah,
he accidentally kills her, and he reacts appropriately in the sense that he is somebody call the cops. I need to turn myself in. I killed a woman.
Yep,
it was an accident. You all saw it. And then she disappears, and of course she's full on Evil Dead Deadite.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it. The reviews compare this to Evil Dead. I was delighted to learn that's not the only comparison. Dare I say, this is shot in the Sam Raimi style. And that really impressed me because it's a found footage movie.
Yeah, this movie is very technically impressive as well as being just fun as hell.
So they do this thing where he comes in and he has just a basket full of cameras. GoPros, and he puts them up and he has a tablet. And so he's with a flick of my wrist, I cut back and forth, but then he can go on the tablet and look at the different cameras, right? And he's they detect motion, so they'll cut around, right?
Yeah, that's a fun little device that they use to help build tension too, is the feed. He tells us that the feed will automatically cut to another camera if there's motion detected. So for the first half, it'll every so often cut to a room where nothing's happening. But you're something just moved. Yeah.
But then what he also does is as he keeps going, he realizes he's sort of so he's putting down these cameras, but then he gets trapped in his car and he grabs a beef jerky and he tapes the camera to it and he labels each camera whenever he does it. And even in the fit of fear, he labels them, which is a little, it's a joke.
This is a horror comedy. Yeah,
exactly. And he labels it beef cam.
Beef cam.
And then
the car scene is so good, Dave.
It's so good with the weird cop.
Yeah, the weird fucking cop. Yeah. With his 19th century handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
Immediately boogans out. Immediately boogans out on him.
Yeah.
And becomes just a full-on classic Deadite. And man, this scene is so good. It's both funny and then there's a genuine suspense because he can only see every time he puts the beef camera out, and you can see that this guy is getting closer and closer to the car while he's trying to do something. Great scene. Good. Great scene.
And so the camera has a function, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Raimi famously had Ramo cam, glide cam, he had blank cam when he was making Evil Dead. And so it is you start realizing it is kind of a reference to that because later he makes a makeshift spear and he puts the fucking camera on the end and names it Spear Cam. And the shot of the spear going after, because the villain gets the spear, of course.
Yeah.
And then it's a shot from the tip of a spear going at him. It's a Sam Raimi shot.
It sure
is. They have constructed naturally through the story a Sam Raimi shot. And that's what I mean, that really impressed me because it's obviously a tribute to Evil Dead in the sense that they're Deadites. They look like humans and then they suddenly turn into monsters. And then of course he's covered in blood. By the end, he's just abused, and then that's the other thing is the monsters are very funny in what they choose to do to him.
Right, she sticks her finger all the way up his nose. It's very Sam Raimi shit. Yeah,
yeah. This long nail.
It's
finger,
so grotesque.
She slowly shoves up his nose, and he's like, "Why? And then, and then she bites his dick.
She sure does bite his dick.
Yeah,
it is a pure Sam Raimi moment. I love when he throws the garlic at it. It's garlic is bullshit.
Yeah,
doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything. So it's definitely modern found footage and the way it's built. But he manages to naturally construct Sam Raimi cinematography, which I just didn't expect. I thought it was just going to be the monsters and the concept.
You're right. Yeah,
know?
that didn't even occur to me because they do it so organically within what the film has been up to that point that it's like suddenly we're getting a POV shot of a ghost chasing him down the hall, and it makes sense. He also puts a camera on her.
Yeah, and
so we get some
that
of those.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
because he wants to see what she sees, so he knows where she is. And that becomes a Sam Raimi shot. Like
they do the shot of the hand dragging itself toward the knife.
Yep.
Because it's from her point of view, and she's dragging herself across the floor, and it's the same shot. Yeah, you're right, man.
Isn't that really cool?
Yeah,
like it's really impressive what they did here. Because it's it's very much Evil Dead in the plot. In this dumbass character being abused by ghosts.
Yeah, he's just getting his ass kicked the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, and he cuts off a limb at the end. He cuts off his finger because there's a flesh sacrifice. It's very much. It's not hiding the fact that it's an Evil Dead tribute, but the fact that they managed to do a found footage tribute in the cinematography was very impressive.
Yeah, this movie rules.
It rules. It works. It stands really well on its own as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good.
You don't need to be a super Evil Dead fan or even have ever seen it to enjoy the movie, for sure.
Yeah, and I would argue it's tributing the right stuff where it's not like just doing the plot, you know? And it's doing all original jokes, and it feels more modern than Evil Dead because it's made now.
Yeah.
But it very much captures what we love about Evil Dead in multiple ways. And made it into a found footage. This is a husband and wife couple. I can't fucking wait to see
what else they do. Yeah.
Yeah, to see their other stuff.
And the guy that plays the influencer, that's the husband, right? That's the one half of the duo. I think that's right. We should have looked that up.
If you watch the credits repeat a lot of names. There's not many. It's very indie, obviously.
Yeah. I'm looking it up.
My God. It's so good. Yeah.
What a fucking film.
Yeah,
it's Joseph and Vanessa Winter, and Joseph Winter does play the Sean, the main character,
and he plays it so well, well. It's a delightful film. If you like Evil Dead, you'll definitely like this. If you like gore, if you like slasher, if you like demons, you're definitely gonna flinch because it's like there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
it's like Jackass in a way. And it does manage to be creepy and scary at first, but it's definitely not. Right, it's not trying to be scary. No, the tension breaks and it becomes a fucking.
There are still moments of suspense, but it is very much like the slapstick Evil Dead stuff. Yeah,
there's some imagery that'll make you maybe go like, ugh, like the little kid.
The tall ghost.
Yeah, the tall ghost.
He just looks like a weird freak.
Yeah,
looks like a Muppet.
The outside ghost is very much fucking Henrietta. Like it looks like Gollum a little, whatever the fuck that thing was.
Oh yeah. The little wolf boy or whatever he finds in the woods. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool shit in this. The makeup is a little rubbery, I would say.
Yeah,
but
there's a couple of props that are very clearly just rubber hands that they dumped corn syrup on, but who cares?
Yeah, it matches the tone. It's like we're having fun.
Most of the time, like I only noticed that maybe 2 or 3 times. Like most of the time, it's pretty solid.
Right, and you can watch Evil Dead and notice that too.
Yeah,
like I don't think they did it on purpose, but it's just like this is an indie horror. It very much feels like.
I think it's a little more obvious on digital.
Yes.
I think it's more obvious in this movie than it is in Evil Dead. But yeah, for sure, you can still see the fucking rubber shit in Evil Dead. Yeah.
It was very well put together. This is a good script, I would say.
It is.
Yeah, that's what also surprised me is I thought, because, indie horror has the advantage of you don't have to sell it. You just have to say I'll make it and it'll be scary because I know how to make it scary or I know how to make it fun. Whereas this, if you looked at the script is also clever. It's the influencer stuff. What it's the very little it says about that. It says more than it needs to about influencer culture.
Yeah, and it's not terribly deep or anything, but
no.
Yeah, I agree. The script is something you would look at this and be like, oh yeah, this is like a studio film. Yeah.
Yeah. It's clever. It's interesting. It doesn't. It would be interesting if if you're just reading it, but then of course it's really fun watching it. And like nothing. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just fucking Deadstream. Check it out.
Yeah, it rules. It's on Shudder.
It's on Shudder. If you have Shudder, it's I don't know, man. Found footage. It's great. It's great stuff. It's great. It's a great film.
It is. I think we mentioned that on Hypecast or something this week. But yeah, it is funny how
is going hard.
Like found footage like 10 years ago or 15 years ago maybe was like real groan worthy. But now it's like when it's like a horror movie and it's found footage, I'm like, ooh. You
know what it is? Is that found footage when it first started? Not when it first started, but I'll call it the 2007 era of found footage.
Yeah, the mid-aughts. Yeah.
Yeah. It was done as almost like it felt like a tax dodge. Like it was just like people making these things to save money based off like, your paranormal activities, where it's like, oh, this was clearly them just being like, we can get away with like most of the movie just being shots of people sleeping if we add jump scares every now and then. It was such a cynical exercise.
Some of those are okay though. Some of those paranormal activities are okay.
Tom, I like the paranormal activities.
I know.
I like all of them, and I don't respect myself because of that.
Hey, I'll stand up for. I think 3 is legitimately a good movie.
Yeah, there's some they do some good stuff, but they're still made out of cynical.
Yeah, and it's
reasons.
the like look at. I mean, Cloverfield's pretty good actually, but like. Yeah,
Cloverfield to me was the moment actually that I thought, wow, found footage could be more than it is. Yeah. It still wasn't at the time, but what I was getting at is that found footage has always been associated with cutting corners.
Yeah.
Like, or it was in that area where it was, we want to save money and then make a lot of money off of teenagers on dates. And so they didn't care if the movie was that good. They would take horror premises and just make them found footage. And then, like
the Devil Inside. Like there's a lot of trash found footage.
Or
from
the Pyramid.
Era.
Do you recall the Pyramid?
The Pyramid, the movie that is so bad they didn't put it on video outside of the U.S. Like it was supposed to get a home release and it didn't. Like and that's how bad it was.
Yeah, and nothing about that movie served found footage. And what I mean by that is that the core premise of found footage was that it was trying to scare people to based on the idea of reality, that this is real, right? This is grounded. Like Blair Witch Project feels grounded when you watch it.
Yeah.
And found footage slowly just became, we don't want to pay for a film camera. That's all. Like The Pyramid's the best example of that, where nothing about it feels like it should be a found footage movie.
And in point of fact, it cuts to
budget.
It cuts to a few shots that are impossible. Like
it cuts to space.
Yeah. Well, and also it cuts to like a shot down the corridor where like the cameraman isn't. So like who's filming that?
No, that movie like constantly forgets.
It breaks its own format so many. Yeah. Right. So yeah, like that's and like the best example of cynical ass found footage.
Because it literally cuts to shots that no one could be filming, but it's still the low quality found footage. So it's like, oh, you just wanted to use worse cameras. That's what you're saying. So, but what I think people started realizing is that we can make a found footage premise and give it a budget. That's what Cloverfield was, And I think what made Cloverfield good is not that it was found footage, but it was depicting a Godzilla situation from the ground.
From the ground level, yeah.
Which then justified found footage. You know what I mean? Where it's like, found footage is all about that idea. And I would say this also justified it in the opposite way, where it's like, we're going to prove that found footage can actually be dynamic in its cinematography. Because if you have a bunch of cameras that are being literally flying around, you can make an Evil Dead, that way, because his cameras are flying around. That's what I thought was really neat. Like, more found footage should, like, there's been some where, like, the camera will be used as a weapon or, like,
yeah, quarantine.
Like, yeah. And it's like, that's using found footage the way it should be. So yeah, this
movie fucks.
This movie fucks. It fucks you and me. It fucks everyone. Boy, this was the length of a regular We Just Watched, Tom.
It was, Dave. Listen, it was the Shocktober Spooktacular. It had to be.
It was. Well, also, a lot of these films, it's like, I don't know if I could talk about these films for an hour. Because I just liked them, or I don't have much to say about them.
Right.
And like Deadstream, like I said, I literally had no notes written down because I was just watching it.
Yeah. Great film.
I like started, great film. Fucking blast.
An awesome film. Terrific film.
Terrific. Oh.
Well, we've done it, Dave. That's a Shocktober Spooktacular.
That's a Shocktober Spooktacular, folks.
Thus concludes our spine-tingling special presentation.
Yep, this month we covered Hellraiser, we covered I Saw the Devil, in theory we covered VHS 99.
That's true. Theoretically, we did that.
Theoretically, this was perhaps recorded before that. And we covered all these. I think we had a good Shocktober.
One of the best
I think we covered a lot.
One of the best Shocktovers, Dave.
One of the best. Oh, and we covered Don't Worry, Darling. I think that was technically Shocktober? I don't know.
I don't remember. I think maybe.
Yeah, I hope there wasn't anything we missed.
We do so many of these.
I know. We did miss a Dario Argento film, which does feel like a bit of an oversight, but I'm going to watch that just for me.
Yeah, that's just for Tom. I'll tweet my thoughts.
Yep. And I can't think of any other Halloween movies.
Nope, not a one. That's it.
Not a one. That's it. No other Halloween movies came out this month.
No other Halloween movies came out this Halloween. Yep. Certainly no other Halloween movies are available to watch this Halloween.
Correct. Listen, folks, we have a Patreon.
We sure do.
Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. GAMEFULLY unemployed. For $5 a month, you get access to a bunch of podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. For $10 a month, you can watch movies with us every Friday night. On top of everything we just said, we often watch horror movies. I'm sure we've been watching horror movies all Spook 'em Ups month. And there's a bunch of other tiers on there. You can also review us wherever you get your podcasts, perhaps like Apple Podcasts. I hear these iPhones are the future.
Yeah, these
Tom.
iPhones. Yeah, man. Mr. Harrigan.
Yeah.
Would have lamented all these podcasts we're doing for your iPhones.
Mr. Harrigan would have hated us.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. Are you kidding? Yes.
He would have murdered the shit out of us.
He would have paid to have us killed.
Ghost murdered.
Yep. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So check that out. We should we should do a new design, Dave. We should do something new.
That would be fun. I like that idea.
We should do a new thing. It's been a minute since we did a new thing.
Like us getting murdered by Donald Sutherland.
Probably
like
that.
Stabbed.
Right? Yeah. It should be us getting killed by Donald Sutherland.
Yeah.
That's how this was always going to end.
Yeah. Stabbing one of us and like biting the other in the neck or something.
Yeah. That sounds
Or like a
right.
werewolf Donald Sutherland.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
I need that in my life.
Yeah. Donald Sutherland by the light of the full moon.
Yeah. He is a werewolf,
Of course, yeah.
How could he not be? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got werewolf energy.
I think he partially transforms into a werewolf in every movie I've ever seen him in.
Yeah, that's true. He kind of does, doesn't he? Donald, you terrify me.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Happy, should we say Happy Halloween? Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween!
Ho, ho, ho.